time.
Yeah.
What has union membership meant for you?
So, I joined almost 20 years ago. Coming up on 20 years. And it's given me the opportunity to treat my music with a serious attitude. Like, not just the making of it, but the business of it.
Yeah.
And it's really helped me get the engine going, from contracts and pension to the ability to work in the United States. I know fellas who've gone down and tried to wing it, maybe not be truthful at the border about what they were doing, thinking it was no big deal. But they landed themselves in hot water and got banned from the States and so forth. Yeah. To say nothing of just respecting another country's laws. Yeah. It was also that they can get themselves in more trouble than they thought. And it just for not paying attention to the basics of business. And so for me, it helped get myself in the mindset of taking my business seriously.
That's a very good point.
Mm.
And what about you, Larry?
Well, so Larry, you've been a part of the local for a long time. Yeah. And you've been president for is it 10 years
10 years now.
Right. Yeah. So why did you want to step into the role of president?
Because I wanted to actually help my fellow musicians, believe it or not. A lot of our friends and local musicians get taken advantage of so many times, and I just felt that I had an ambition to learn stuff, contract-wise, and just to help musicians. And like a lot of the initiatives that we've come up with have helped the lot of every musician that's been a member, and even ones that haven't been. So that to me is gratifying, mm-hmm. to be able to do something constructive, and all the initiatives that we've had to educate, to let people know what's available to them, and to get the best out of being a musician.
Now, you've accomplished a lot. Like, you and the board have accomplished a whole lot in the last 10 years. It's been a real revitalization of the union, which has gone through ups and downs over the decades. But
right.
But in the last 10 years, there have been a lot of shifts and changes, even in terms of the role of music and culture, the rise of the impact of online activity. So that there's been a lot that's evolved, but you've accomplished a lot during that time. Can you talk a little bit about what the board has done?
Yeah. Well, when I became president, I realized that we had to address a lot of deficiencies in what was going on with the local, and we really built a great team, everybody working together and people working towards their strengths. We've made several contract negotiations with new orchestras, and getting the Burlington New Millennium Orchestra under contract, which is great. Provides all the benefits, the pension fund, contract protection, all of that. We did one recently with the Theater Aquarius, which is great, giving everybody more wages, higher wages, and actually better pension. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. And we had a series of workshops where people can learn about all these programs, like the pension, finances, MROC, so on and on. And it's all about educating people. Otherwise, they don't know that it's there, and they miss out. So.
Well, and some of the things you said right now, for people who aren't familiar, I mean, even something like MROC, there are many organizations that we're affiliated with, that we do business with, that we have access to, and that we can share information about. But there are many different kinds of things that can be done with performance and done with music. What are some of the kinds of things that a musician who's either not very active professionally but is hoping to become, whether or not active professionally, whether or not they're members of the union right now, what are some things they could do with their music or do with their performance that they might not even realize?
Yeah, well, like I say, it all boils down to education, and the more we're able to teach people what's available to them, then they're able to grow as musicians, and they're able to actually put money, aside for just everyday living. So it's really important. Like the MROC thing, which is a performance rights organization, we're affiliated with that, and that's money that comes in, and it's about getting a lot of diverse income streams together, so that people maximize their musical talents.
Now, there was the Music Performance Trust Fund has had an impact on being able to do some hiring that might not otherwise have happened. Can you talk a little bit about what happened during the pandemic with that?
Well, actually, it's a good question that you brought that up. What we did was we really had to work hard to make it happen, but we had a live stream performance program put together, and we had 24 acts in all. Over 126 musicians got paid, and it was really good because nobody was working, and that was through the MPTF fund, the Musicians Performance Trust Fund, and we did some fundraising as well in order to get the most out of the entire program. So.
Well, and before the pandemic, I recall there were a great number of performances that were happening downtown. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, we did the downtown BIA would have. I'm going to say it's about four performances during the week from Tuesday to Friday, and a lot of people would show up from the offices and just people that hung around and. I made a point of saying to our former Secretary Treasurer, you look down the street when there's music and there's people in the street, everybody's having a good time. When that music's gone, you take that picture and there's nobody on the street. So that's really important in order to get people to make a community. And the other thing that I really want to bring out here is that all the things that we're trying to do is about relationship building within our community. We know a lot of the politicians. We have good relationships with BIAs, and you have the festivals that we have funded, like the Super Crawl, Canada's largest Rib Fest, Festival of Friends, and there's a whole bunch of things. And we spread that money around so that more people can get hired.
Right.
Well,
and something that comes to mind is that we're in really shifting times. With the advent of internet and technology, things have changed from where they were a number of years ago. And a lot of people are saying and with the pandemic too, they say a lot of the old jobs have dried up, but where's the new work and that kind of thing. And I think it's interesting. If you go back, when I first became a director on the board about 4 years ago, I recall reading through the officer's manual, sort of the training document that you make us all go through, you taskmaster. And it was interesting to me to see that long ago there were pit musicians who would always play for silent movies, and that employed people all across the continent and across the world. And when there were silent movies, you'd always have. You'd have this little orchestra of musicians. But as the talkies came out and as sound became a thing, all these musicians just wholesale lost their jobs. So then it was like, well, how can this evolve? And the union was right there to say there's been a shift in the place of music and culture and where the money is located for professionals to make a living. And so it was right there to help musicians step through that and evolve into the new reality. So can you talk just a little bit about just broadly speaking, the history of the union? Like, why have a union? Like, overall, like, why is that an important organization rather than just either an agency or a social club or or just some sort of benefit provider or something like that? What is it about a union that stands out?
Well, we go back to 1903, and George R. Robinson was the first president of this local, and you guys might remember that there's a band shell at Gage Park that's to George R. Robinson. and it was started as the military people, the military band, I believe it's the Rileys, were the first. So there's a continuum. The only constant that we know in life or music is change. So things change, whether there's the different recording formats. And it's interesting that you bring some of these things up about how people losing their jobs one way. One of the reasons why the Musicians Performance Trust Fund was established was they had a record strike, and after that, they got together with all the major labels, and they got money to pay for live performances.
Right.
So this is like in 1948, and that's kind of the reason why you need a union. Unions are always the most positive form of an organization that advocates on behalf of its members. If you were to leave it to the employers, then we'd be working 7 days a week. People would have no benefits. All those things were fought by union people. And as you know, Hamilton's a big union town. I mean, the big Stelco strike, that was pretty wild. And if they didn't do that, they would have never have gotten where they got. So it's more important now to have a union than probably it ever has been.
So for members who are asking themselves, how can I make my business more vital? How can I find ways to make money, make more money, and get myself playing, get myself active? What would you say to those people who come to you and say, "Gosh, how do I take these steps and make a difference?"
It's not just one time that this has happened. I've had people come up to me and ask me, "Look, I'm thinking of dropping out because I'm not working enough." And I'd sit down with the person and I'd say, "Well, what are you doing? Are you going out there? Are you maximizing all your contacts? Are you pushing yourself? Are you promoting yourself?" I had one friend who was thinking of packing it in, and then I had to talk with him. I said, "Look at the guys who are doing really well. Follow their example and get out there. Learn from people who are successful. Don't look at people who are not successful." So he went out and he was a piano player and he could sing. And after that, he was like book solid. But he actually thanked me and said, "Look, hey, you really," because I was thinking back in the old days when you had managers and booking agents and all that. And now things have changed. So that's kind of what we do. We're a resource and we can help people solve their problems.
Right, because everybody's got a little bit of a different angle of where they want to see their career go,
Exactly.
and different struggles that are unique to them.
And it's always about community. Is that the bigger the community is, and the more involved everyone becomes, then the more successful everybody becomes, because you're an entity that's bigger than an individual.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really important.